Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host Indira, and today I'm here with the one and only Ines FitzGerald. She's got a ton of national titles, she was won all of her major races, and she recently became the European Cross Country Champion, and she's soon off to the World Cross Country Championships. Ines has got PBs of 8:59 over the 3000, 4:15 over the 1500, and a 16:02 park run, and she's only under 20. In this episode, she talks us through her training, her thoughts around running, and what the journey's been like for her. As always, please be sure to give the podcast a rating and review, as it really helps to give credibility to the podcast, so I can keep bringing you guys the guests you want to hear. We got over 30 questions for Ines, and so we've tried to cover most of the main topics. Okay, let's get into the podcast. Hi, Ines, how are you? How's your day been?
Yeah, really good. Fun because I've been at kind of school or sixth form, getting lots of work done, but that's always satisfying. So it's nice to tick things off.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy, trained last night, so a bit tired, but that's what it is. Living life as an athlete and a student.
Yeah, definitely. It's the life of a multi-talented balancer, really, I suppose. Got to get everything in. And what A levels is it that you're doing?
Biology, maths, and physics. I don't know whether I just decided to choose the hard ones or they just happened to be hard, but I seem to be, not an easy ride, but yeah, we're getting them done. So fingers crossed, everything's fine, and I'll get through them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I did quite similar to you, to be fair. And I mean, at least there's a lot of practice questions available online. I suppose that's the only pro. But do you have any particular plans with them after school?
Yeah, I hope to go to uni in September.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed, Birmingham. That's where I want to go. But we
yeah.
just got to see how results day goes. And if things don't go as planned, I'm sure there's other options. I'm not stressing about it too much. I'll work something out.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great attitude to have. And do you have a course in mind that you're kind of eyeing up?
Yeah, sports science, as most athletes, well, I mean, quite a few athletes will say. um, yeah, I'm interested in that, and it will help with my running. And yeah, it's something I'm interested in. And yeah, I'd like to work helping other people in the future, which is hopefully will lead to something like that. We'll see.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, yeah, it sounds like a great option there and definitely something to talk about a bit later. And so, for anyone who doesn't already know you, can you sort of briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm an under 20 GB kind of middle distance and cross country runner. I recently won the Eurocross and I got the British 3000 meter under 17 record. 8:59. So
No,
yeah, that's kind of my biggest achievements.
no, absolutely. And there's a lot of kind ofs in there, but she is 100% an incredible runner with national titles and European titles and all sorts coming out her ears. So definitely an incredible talent. And so in terms of just a few kind of intro questions, everyone gets these ones. What would you say is your number one piece of advice to your younger self?
Oh, that's tricky because I haven't been running like since it's for very long. But I think it's that thing of always thinking about the bigger picture. Even now, I try and not to get too hung up about what different training sessions, how they've been going. I'm always looking ahead, like what do I really want to be doing in like 5 years time or whatever. If I want to be on the world stage doing big things, then not getting too hung up about how things are going at the moment, and just thinking, yeah, ahead about each training session, whether it's bad or good, it's gonna like help build towards what I really want to be and what I want to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such a great mindset to have. You know, it's such a, I guess, pitfall for so many runners who take more of a short-term approach and, it doesn't pay off in the long run. And so are there any topics that you feel particularly strongly about? You know, I know you've only been running a short time, but is there anything that's kind of been very impactful for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken a bit about climate activism stuff in the past. So that's something that yeah, I feel strongly about. And I'd like to share a bit more in the future, but also kind of that transition from being a junior kind of runner into senior is so is so specific and it's really hard to get right. And I think it's something that there are some amazing coaches out there who can do it perfectly, but we kind of need to get that knowledge spread across to all juniors so that everyone can be progressing into a senior without kind of any disadvantage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The young athlete crisis loss situation is definitely a real thing in the sport for sure. And what's the kind of next biggest goal or thing that you're hoping to achieve?
Well, only like last week or a couple of weeks ago, we decided we're going to try and go to the World Cross. So I've been selected for that. So that's kind
Amazing.
of the aim on the horizon. Being only like 2 weeks away. But apart from that, we're aiming for the World Under 20s on the track later in August, which is exciting, a bit scary, but yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Well, no, congrats. And no, that's really exciting. And in terms of kind of on the track there, is there a particular distance that's kind of in mind?
Um, Kind of sticking with the 3K, 1500 kind of ballpark, I think. I think that will kind of progress into slightly longer distances over time, but at the moment where I'm at, I think it's good to kind of get my legs turning. I don't want to like be doing too long distances too soon, otherwise I won't get the speed. I think getting the speed while you're young is always really important. So yeah, trying to maybe do a few eights as well.
Oh, nice. Yep. I mean, your eight is currently at 2:44 from back in 2019, which I'm sure would be a lot quicker now. And that's definitely something a lot of athletes do say, actually getting the speed while you're young is really beneficial. So that's cool to hear you're going to be focusing a bit on that. And you also say that Worlds was kind of a recent decision to aim for that. Is that now something that, how have you kind of coped with that, I suppose, it not necessarily being something that was targeted to now something that you're going for?
Yeah, I think I came off the back of Eurocross like pleased and satisfied, and we kind of thought let's just like try and get a solid training block throughout the winter. We can do the kind of national and English schools races like kind of early spring, kind of just to like roll me into summer. But I think we've had a really good training block, and like chatting with my coach, we're like, well, we're in a good place. Why not give it a shot? We don't really know how I'm going to perform, and it's a bit of a gamble. We'll see what happens on the day. We don't really know who's running, and it's always that thing like athletes' times on paper don't always translate to the race. So even if like there's going to be a load of girls who are way quicker than me, but I mean, when you're in the racing environment, you're there with them. You weren't in the race when they ran so much quicker than you, and I think yeah, being in a different environment, maybe the race will be tactical. I don't know, but we'll just see how things go. And I think yeah, there's I've got nothing to lose, and it's just experience at the end of the day. I can just do my best, and we'll see what comes out of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think that's interesting because obviously you had that huge winning margin at the Europeans, incredible win there. And I suppose the fact that you didn't think, oh, okay, Worlds is kind of definitely the next step, that's really interesting. Is that kind of maybe that just that long-term approach, or did you maybe not feel enough confidence from even the win?
Yeah, no, I definitely felt confident and I was pleased, but I think it's always that thing, when you're like racing up against like the Africans who have been running like since they were pretty much born. You know that you like. I know that I'm not really at the level where I can be racing them competitively. I mean, I know I can give it a good shot now, but like in a couple of years' time, when I've had a bit more training, and kind of built things up a bit more, I know I'll be in a different position and I'll be like, no, I'm definitely going and I can definitely compete against these people. I think it's a difficult decision to make now because I know that there's more I can be doing, and I know that they've done more than me. So I know I'm like not quite at the same level, but there's no reason why I can't go and give it a good shot. And yeah, as I said, I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be really exciting. And whereabouts are they holding Worlds again?
Um, it's in Belgrade, which is in Serbia,
Oh, nice. Have you been
which
there
is like
before?
Eastern Europe. No, funnily enough.
Yeah. Well, it'll be definitely, yeah, a really good experience. And do you feel like you're someone who's got quite a realistic picture of where you're at? Do you go into races with a good idea of where you might come or how you might perform?
Or I think it's hard predicting times. I always like throughout last year, I kind of thought I could run quicker than I did. Um, I don't know whether it's just I didn't translate in the races, but sometimes I'm like, oh, my training's doing really well, and then when it comes down to racing, I can't quite execute it on the day. I seem to be better at it cross country, but when I'm trying to aim for times on the track, I think it gets to my head a little bit, and sometimes I just can't quite do what I want to. But I think that'll come with time. Just learning to relax in races and yeah, having confidence in myself that actually I can do quite well. I just need to believe.
Yeah, definitely. It is a real mental block. And sometimes when you're in that cross country situation, it's a much more pure race. You've got sort of people and the course to focus on. But on the track, you do see the clock ticking. You do know exactly how far you've got. And on that note, are you someone who runs quite in a sort of database, science-based approach? Do you look at splits? Are you quite heavily focused on kind of calculations, or do you tend to just trust the vibe of the situation more?
um, I think when I'm in like training sessions, I like to know what's going on. I well, sometimes my coach is like, right, let's run in lane 3 or let's like run in lane 2 and not like look at our watches for like a tempo. If we're doing a bit of tempo on the track, I'm always very resistant to that. I like to run in lane 1, so I know what's going on. And I also find it helps me just to keep track of where I'm going. Otherwise, I'll go too quick probably. Or sometimes too slow, but most of the time I'll just run too quick. So yeah, it's nice to know where I'm at, and I like that. But I mean, with my easy runs, I don't really look at my watch. I look at my watch like to check that I'm going slow enough. But yeah, I don't get hung up on data too much. I sometimes think that can kind of throw you off a bit, maybe make you think you're unfit or make you think make you chase times when you just need to relax.
Yeah, that's so true. It's kind of a two-edged sword, really. Once you start looking at the times, it definitely can really get in your head. And so, yeah, as you've said a couple of times now, and some people already know you haven't been running very long. I mean, you recorded your first race in 2019, schools 800 meter championships, 244. You then came 176th in your first English schools in 2020. And then fast forward to your next English schools championships in 2022, where you came second. I mean, you then went on to win the SIAB Schools International, which was, absolutely incredible. And so, yeah, you've obviously risen to the top really, really quickly. How do you think that's happened? Aside from the natural talent, what sort of factors do you pin that down to? And what's that experience been like?
Yeah, I think I've always been quite an active kind of youngster. Like my parents would always like make us do sport and stuff on the weekends. I didn't really go to many like clubs as such because my parents were so busy. It was like I'd go maybe out for like a walk or a bike ride with my dad on the weekends, but it was more like a family kind of thing. We were active as a family rather than I wasn't really active with my friends as such because yeah, sports clubs weren't really a thing. And I think that's why I didn't really get into sport earlier because I was never doing things like outside of school where like teams or clubs would like pick up on the fact you're good at something. So yeah, I think it was kind of a bit of a hidden disguised kind of talent for a while. And then yeah, during lockdown when I kind of got back into running a little bit more and then yeah, I went back to school and my teachers were like, come on, you need to actually do something with this now. Like, I can't just have you sat here running around, but yeah, not going anywhere with it. So, yeah, then I was lucky enough to join a club, which, yeah, was the pinnacle turning point, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you raced your first English schools championships, cross country, and you came second, I suppose. That was kind of your first race. At the time, did you realize the kind of magnitude of what you'd achieved, or, what were people's responses and reactions like towards you?
Yeah, that was a crazy day, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't go into the race thinking that I was in any way good enough for anything really. I didn't know who I was racing against. I'd never seen any of the girls before, so it was a completely new experience. And I think that was quite good going in as the underdog. I didn't have the nerves because I didn't know really what I was stressing about. So yeah, it was just a relaxed race, and I think um, yeah, it was strange to come away from the race having come second and then go on to like the school's international. was just like a surreal experience, having never done anything like that, and I didn't even know that the international thing was a thing. But I think it was amazing to then like see all the other girls who like come up through the age groups, and then they were there as well. It was so nice to talk to them about their experiences, obviously, which were so different to mine. But yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And would you say you were met with any kind of hostility, or, how did I guess, your fellow competitors kind of take you coming out of nowhere to, right to the very, very top?
Um, no, I think everyone within the running community is so nice. Like, there was no reason why anyone had any hard feelings. I think obviously there was like a natural kind of intrigue as to like where I come from, what I was doing. But I think when you get to know people, you realize that actually, although you might be competitive when you're running, kind of away from that, everyone's so friendly and there's no one to be afraid of, and no one's yeah got any hostility towards anyone really.
Yeah, no, that's really great to hear. And it definitely is a really lovely kind of friendly community for sure. And so I guess, something that a lot of people are thinking, a lot of people want to know, what is it that you're doing? Is there something I can start doing that might give me, even a fraction of improvement, like the kind that you've seen. So, we've had a lot of questions about your weekly training routine and questions around that. So could you walk us through, a typical training week for you, or maybe, your last training week?
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing anything differently to anyone else really. I think it's just that thing I try and focus on quality. So quality within the sessions, and I'm really like taking it easy on my easy days, so that I can get the sessions that I want to get in and not having them compromised. So yeah, Monday kind of easy run, and then Tuesday evening is the track session. That's kind of the big focus of the week. Getting that Tuesday session quality in, I always find is really important. And then Wednesday's easy. Thursday's easy, and sometimes like a 10-minute tempo put in the middle of that. And then Friday's off, so no running on Friday. And then Saturday is a session, sometimes on the track, sometimes on the grass, depends. We try and get on the grass if we can, if it's not too muddy. We don't want to be like in a swamp.
What, you don't want to swim?
No, definitely not. And then Sunday's my slightly longer run, only going up to about 50 minutes. Nothing drastic, but yeah, easy kind of long run.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And in terms of sort of paces, how would you pace an easy run roughly?
Yeah, I mean, it always depends. I try and go feel. Sometimes that'll be like 5:15 per K, and then other days it will be like 4:45, 4:30 per K. It literally depends how I'm feeling. I try and take like the days after the session, so the Wednesday and then the Sunday long run. I always try and back off quite a lot on those ones. I know it's easy to get caught up with yourself, but actually running a bit slower on those runs is only going to make you feel fresher for the sessions, and I think that's really important. And yeah, you can't really run too slow, but you can definitely run too quick. So I think that's really important.
Now that's a great piece of advice. You can't really run too slow, but you can definitely run too quick. That should be framed in every runner's door, probably. And in terms of kind of those sessions, is there maybe a favorite session you've got, or something you particularly enjoy that you're happy to share with everyone?
Yes, I love a 400 session. 400's off like 60 seconds, sometimes even 45 seconds. That's like my favorite session. Yeah, I think it's like a really nice session to do like kind of after quite a hard training block. It's quite a good one to turn your legs over, but it's not really too hard on the body. Yeah, 400s are always my favorite. But then I do love a good hard session like K reps. It's good fun as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. I have to say 400s, I definitely agree. There's something nice about just one lap as well. Don't have
Yeah,
to
it's good
go.
mentally, kind of after a tough week or something. Doing that it's quite good, nice.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of, we've got a lot of questions around kind of your weekly mileage and also the number of hours that you train a week. Do you happen to know those stats?
Um, I'm just thinking, no, not really. Um, I actually don't have a clue.
Probably the best way, just kind of go with the
I
flow.
kind of do my runs off time.
Yeah.
So like an easy run might be like half an hour, and then my long run's like 50 minutes, and then like mileage wise, I that just like comes. I'm not really one for stats at all. And I'm not so I don't have a clue.
Yeah, no, wow. I think a lot of people would be really, really surprised about kind of how short those runs are for the times that you've produced. I know, a lot of runners could definitely be looking at 50 to 80 miles a week potentially for running, similar times to what you are. Do you feel that if you were to run more, you would, be able to improve a lot? Or do you think that for you, what you're doing and, those kind of times and distances works well?
Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to push up as kind of I get older, but it's that kind of transition into junior from junior to senior. It's like it's so important not to push the mileage too early. Like I think as young athletes growing and developing, if you like push too hard too early on, you're just going to break too early. And I think it's that thing of being smart with your training. I know that there's so much more I can be doing, but it's like I can't jump to that too early, otherwise I'm not going to get what I want, kind of thing. So yeah, it's just kind of like working, like progressing gradually, and knowing that there's more to come, but being able to kind of get there in a sustainable way, I think is really important.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's so great to hear. I mean, I was speaking with kind of a coach the other day actually who was talking about, how horrifying it is the amount that some young athletes are doing now. So it's really great that you've got kind of those people around you supporting you and making sure that, they're doing everything to see your success through into the senior years. And in terms of that setup, who do you train with? Do you have a big group? What's that situation like for you?
Um, so the group depends kind of like on who's there, but my coach coaches a few juniors. So sometimes there might be 15 of us, and then other times there might only be three or two. I like to be at the track with at least a couple of people doing a similar session. It's always nice to have someone else to run with. But I think it's really important to be able to run kind of solo as well. So yeah, we mix it up a little bit. And it's nice to be there with, although most of them are quite a lot younger than me, it's quite nice to be there with other people to help teach them, like make sure they're doing okay, and so they can have someone to look up to as well. I think it's always important for like youngsters not to lose their way. So it's nice to have someone else there, I think, for them. And I like to have some company too.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say it must, get a little bit lonely sometimes. There really aren't many girls who can necessarily run the times and speeds that you can. And you mentioned they're running solo a fair bit, and that's definitely something we've all seen you do in races. Is that, can you talk us through kind of your mindset when you're leading in a race and, how does it feel? Does it feel like you're in a race?
Yeah, I think it does. I like to push myself in races. To kind of like know where my limits are, and like have a hard run out, I think is always important. And then like when you get to the World European stage, you need to be able to kind of dig deep, push harder than you would usually. So yeah, practicing that is always really important so that when you're challenged, you kind of know how to react.
Yeah, definitely. And did that come for you at the Europeans? Did you feel that the level of competition was a lot higher, or, how was that experience and what were your expectations going into it?
Yeah, I think it was quite scary going into the race, but I knew I just needed to keep relaxed at the beginning. Um, Sometimes I get a bit too like tense and het up, like when the gun goes off, and I think I kind of managed to run in a way where I kind of conserved my energy at the beginning, and I felt confident and I felt like belief within myself that I could do it. And I think that's always really important. It's like the mindset. If you think that you're in control, then you will be. And that's what kind of happened.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever been tempted to kind of sit at the back of a pack and maybe try kind of a kick towards the end, or is it definitely, out hard from the start for you?
Yeah, I think I'd like to experiment a bit more with tactics in the summer. I think
Yeah.
going into those track races, that's when you see kind of tactics play out in a bit of a different way. So yeah, I kind of like to see that, and I think it's really important to be able to have practice like different ways of running so that in like competition situations you can adapt and respond to different challenges.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And another question we've kind of got is a lot of questions around kind of what you think about during a race and if you ever sort of feel pressure from the pack behind you, not being able to necessarily see what everyone's doing. What are your, kind of thoughts and, what's the situation around that?
Yeah, I think pressure is always a quite a big thing. But I'm always thinking, well, the only pressure is the pressure I put on myself. So it's like, how much pressure do I want? Then I should be in control of that. So it's like reminding myself of that. It's like I'm here, I'm doing it because I want to be doing it. So I shouldn't feel, if I'm feeling too much pressure and it's getting uncomfortable, then maybe it's not something I want to do. Um, but yeah, I think it's kind of learning how how to like run races and how other people are going to respond. And the more racing you do, the more kind of you get used to the pressure and kind of realizing like how you can perform and having confidence within yourself.
Yeah, definitely that's so true. And with more races that you're kind of winning, do you feel that the pressure gets less or more?
I think whatever race you go into, even if you think you're definitely going to win, like there's the same amount of pressure. I don't think there was any more pressure at Europeans than there was at the national or the county champs. So I'm always nervous for something, and I think that's always good. I thrive off the nerves. I like feeling a bit like there's a bit of pressure on me. It helps me run, I think.
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, obviously, if it gets too much, then I don't know. But yeah, I think it's good. A bit of pressure is always healthy, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it gives you that kind of, I know, the extra something for the race, really. And in terms of going into a race, have you got a pre-race routine? And also in terms of sort of nutrition, do you have a like night before meal or a pre-race snack or anything like that?
Yeah, I think like the taper week before a race is always like really important. You can either get it right or you can get it very, very wrong. Um uh I didn't feel amazing at Nottingham. And I think something wasn't quite right on the week. I was just like, I don't know, my legs were just a bit all over the shop. But yeah, I like to have a nice kind of easy, kind of light session on the Tuesday just to turn my legs over a little bit of speed, but not much volume at all. Probably only a couple K. A few fours is always nice. And then yeah, an easy kind of couple days, a rest day in there as well. And then yeah, usually the Friday is a travel day if it's like a race far away. And then yeah, trying to get a good a good meal in the night before. Pasta is always my go-to, but I'm happy to eat anything really. I'm pretty flexible. And I think that's good. It's always good to be able to adapt to different situations. Like sometimes staying with a team, you can't always get what you want. Um, so yeah, having that adaptability is always nice. Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of kind of adaptability, while we're sort of, I guess, around food, there was also a lot of questions around your being veggie slash vegan and how you kind of manage that with sort of running. What's your response to people asking about that?
Yeah, I think obviously quite a lot of people are vegetarian and myself, I'm vegan. So I think it's sometimes quite difficult for other people to kind of understand or imagine how it's like. But it's kind of it's something that I've managed to work with over time. I was a vegan before I started running, so I kind of know I've kind of known how to fuel myself in different situations, and my family's vegan, so I've always got their support. And I think it's something I have to keep on top of quite a lot to make sure that everything's going to plan, regular blood tests, everything like that. Um, it's important to keep on top of things, and I wouldn't want to let anything slip at any point. Um, so yeah, if other people are thinking about going vegan, then good for them, but make sure you're keeping on top of things and maybe work with someone else because it's easy because my family are vegan. If anyone thinks anything's going wrong, then we always share it. And yeah, having someone else there is always really important. I think doing things alone can be difficult. And even if it's just making a small change to like becoming more plant-based, that's always good for the environment as well. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, a ton of very valid points there, especially kind of the idea of easing it in. I suppose that goes for everything, really. You do want to make changes more gradually, than more suddenly in general. But I suppose one thing where you are, kind of very much alone is in your, I guess, training and school situation. And, you are the only one taking those exams. You are the only one in those races. How are you balancing your life and training and A levels? That's a lot of things to be dealing with.
Yeah, it can get stressful at times. I think after I moved schools for sixth form, and that was a big change, and I think that kind of was a bit of a shock to the system. That was last September. Oh, I don't even know, a couple of Septembers ago. um, and yeah, that's kind of when all the stress hit me, and I was like, "There's actually quite a lot I'm doing here. Trying to study and run at the same time. I have to cut myself a little bit of slack sometimes. Kind of reminding myself that I need to get my A levels done. My parents definitely remind me that. um, like I've only got one shot of that, and that they come first over the running at the moment. As much as I want to do as well as I can, it's just consistency within the running can happen. And I don't necessarily need to be like racing and stuff. If that's gonna like put added stress on top of my schoolwork, I just need to be getting my schoolwork done for these like next few months, and then I'm free to do what I want. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is true. You only kind of get one shot of these things, and they're with you for life. So, ultimately it will be worth it. But will it be the summer that you then put everything into running?
yeah, I mean we'll see what we can do, but I don't want to push things too early. We'll just see how quick we can run, and then hopefully going to uni we can push things on from there. Um, in the next few years, see what we can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, and so if we move on to, a couple more things that people are asking around in terms of injuries and setbacks, what would you say has been your biggest setback so far, and have you had any injuries?
Yeah, no, well, nothing too drastic, which is good, touch wood. But yeah, obviously the typical kind of runners, little niggles and tightness here and there. But yeah, trying to steer clear of the injuries where I can.
Yeah, definitely. Every runner's nightmare, really. So, no, that's really good to hear. And in terms of, I guess, sort of recovery as well, that's something that a lot of people are asking about. Do you have any particular, post-session recovery routines or anything like that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think the nutrition is always really important. Getting like a good carbohydrate kind of snack in that 30-minute window after the session is really important, and I think it's underrated and sometimes missed. So yeah, a nice Saurine malt loaf is definitely my go-to. And then yeah, a bit of a bigger meal in usually my dinner will be like an hour after the session. Yeah, so kind of fueling up right, getting those carbs in and a bit of protein. I always think the carbs are underrated, and the protein's overrated, but I think us endurance athletes need the carbs. So yeah, that's my go-to really.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And actually, yeah, I've seen a lot of people eating malt loaf recently, kind of post race. It seems to be the new chocolate milk. So yeah, like you say, carbs are back in for post run recovery, clearly. And so I guess as well, you also mentioned earlier how you're kind of a lower mileage athlete. Are you someone who incorporates any sort of cross training or other types of training into your routine?
Um, no, not really. I try and keep active like on the weekends with my family, going out on bike rides sometimes, just together with them. Nothing, I don't take anything too seriously, and it's just having a bit of fun. Even with my friends, try and get out and do something active, maybe go for a walk, go to the beach. Yeah, having fun with it. And yeah, reminding myself not to take things too seriously at a young age, otherwise things can catch up with you and you can lose the love of the sport.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, such wise words. And for you, maybe what would say, Friday, that's your rest day. What could a, normal Friday look like? Or, is there anything in particular that you like to do kind of hobby wise?
Yeah, I'm definitely not like a going out kind of party person. But I like to socialize. So yeah, going around friends' houses is something I enjoy doing, or just like, yeah, chilling out, playing games, yeah, having a bit of fun and a bit of a break from running, doing something completely different with my friends is always nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to have that balance in your life. And do you feel that running's had a big impact on your identity and how you feel, especially given the level of success you've had with it?
Um, I think if anything, it's just given me a lot more confidence, putting myself in difficult positions or situations I wouldn't necessarily normally be in. Yeah, it makes me kind of like challenge the way I behave, and kind of gives me confidence to know that I can do things, and I can put myself in difficult situations and feel good and be able to kind of, yeah, challenge and yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I guess, if we kind of look towards wrapping up a bit more now, what would you say is kind of the number one thing that you valued the most having been running?
Yeah, I think it's that confidence and belief in myself. I've been a bit of an introvert, I think. And that's kind of like evolved since I've started running. I've become more kind of have more self-belief, and set like bigger aspirations, for myself, so that hopefully like later in life I can achieve big goals and big dreams that maybe I wouldn't have thought I could.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's really great to hear. And in terms of, I guess, on the other side of that, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've overcome?
I think that pressure at the beginning, when I kind of like was new into running, there was always like the pressure, and it was like how to deal with the pressure. But it comes with that confidence. When you've got that confidence, that pressure kind of decreases. And I think, yeah, at the beginning when I started running, the confidence was pretty low, and the pressure I put on myself was quite high. But I think now the more I've run, the more I realize that the only pressure there is the pressure I put on myself, and I just need to be confident, and things will come.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, what has been your favorite race or favorite running memory slash experience to date?
Um, well, I have to say, I think winning the European cross was definitely the biggest kind of achievement for me, like physically and mentally. I think after, yeah, coming fourth the year before, it was like that I'd put a lot of pressure on myself, and I knew that I could do it, but it was just like whether I could execute it on the day, and that kind of relief, once I'd finished, was like amazing, and yeah, something I'll never forget.
Yeah, absolutely. No, very well deserved. So no, thank you so much for coming on and talking us through kind of your training and your experience, and wish you all the very best, especially at the Worlds.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No, an absolute pleasure. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, be sure to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. This really helps to get the content out there. And I want to make this podcast the best possible for you. So go follow Fitter, Faster, Happier on Instagram. That's Fitter, Faster, Happier to leave your questions, comments, and feedback, and for updates and guest requests. All the best for the week ahead, guys. Run happy, live happy, be happy.